There's you should go to type here. Oh, yeah. Ah, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjamiha. Ralada, Girimarada, Gopi Janamallabha, Girimarada, Yashodanandana, Radha Yashodanandana, Yamunatira Vanasa Yamunatira Vanasa Nana Indamita Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Get some fresh air. It's open actually. It's open. Oh. Maybe this. Yeah. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, page 13. Shalakavacha, Ityabhyam, Yatikam Raja, Ishamyam Bharata Shabha, Kimanyat Krishtavam Bhuyo, Vayasakim Rishim Kavim, Let's jump.
Shaunakuvacha Iti Adhivyahritam Raja Nishanya Bharadashabha Kimanyat Prishtavan Bhuvyo Vakyasikim Vishnukalim Saunaka Vacha Iti Vyahritam Raja Nishanya Kimanyat Prishtavan Bhuvyo Sakim Vishnukalim
Shaunaka Uvacha Shaunaka said Iti Dasa Abhivyahritam all that was spoken Raja the king Nishanya by hearing Bhagavtam Maharaj Parikshit Kim what Anyad more Vishtavan did he inquire from him Bhuyaha again Vyasakim unto the son of Vyasadeva Rishin one who is well versed Kalim poet. Translation and purport by his Dvagnech by Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Shaunaka said, the son of Vyasadeva Srila Shukadeva Goswami was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? A pure devotee of the Lord automatically develops all godly qualities, and some of the prominent features of those qualities are as follows. He is kind, peaceful, truthful, equable, faultless, magnanimous, mild, clean, non-possessive, a well-wisher to all, satisfied, surrendered to Krishna, without hankering, simple, fixed, self-control, a balanced eater, sane, mannerly, prideless, grave, sympathetic, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. Out of these 26 prominent features of a devotee, as described by Krishna Das Kaviraj in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, the qualification of being poetic is especially mentioned herein in relation to Shukadeva Goswami. That presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam by his recitation is the highest poetic contribution. He was a self-realized learned sage. In other words, he was a poet among the sages. Om Jnanatim Randasya Vinamjala Shalakam Chakshurumidyamin Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitamena Bhagave Svayam Bhakadayam Padate Svapadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Shirupam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganavatam Sajivam Sadvaita Savadutam Kanjasastam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Balaram Saganavata Shri Shaganavata Chalam Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jayapare Gopesha Gopika Radha Tanta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Radhaneshwari Krishna Madhu Sudhiri Radhamani Vachakalpatarveshya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Paritanam Paramyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Rupare Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Divane Namaste Sarasvate Gauranga Nirvishesha Sundravani Pascharya Vishnavani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Vedanta Srivastava Gauramadvavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So by Bhagavtam Prabhu's birthday, I'm here today, and I also beg your mercy to give me some intelligence to present this nicely. Shanaka said, the son of Vyasadeva Srila Shukadeva Goswami was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? Who is speaking before Sharmat? Uh, uh, Here, Shukadeva Goswami is described as Kavi, Valyasa Kimrishin Kavi. He's the poet among sages. When we Rishi, sage, it reminds us of wisdom, knowledge. But then, if a sage is a poet, it means to be a philosopher. That's not easy. You know, it's heavy. The philosophers are heavy with knowledge. Rishis, they are situated in the mode of goodness. Also, there's which loka is that? Jamaloka. Oh, Mahaloka. Mahaloka, the great sages live, they become sacrifices, worship the Lord. So they are practically free from sufferings because of their of material needs. They live long lives. We cannot even imagine how long. And so it's not just being an armchair philosophers like nowadays, become university professors, but these rishis, they were actually very exalted persons. Their minds, their bodies, and they still live. They, it's not that these sages, they lived in their history. Of course, some of them, but many of them, they still live. They live long lives. So our whole Kali Yuga period for them is like, few hours. They live long, long lives. And yeah, as I said, knowledge also means qualities. If somebody only has knowledge and doesn't have good qualities, That's what we have today. Some people are very knowledgeable in science, this and that, but they don't show proper conduct. And that's why their knowledge is futile. And actually, it can be also dangerous because knowledge is one of the aspects of jnana, vairagya, shaiva, according to Padma. It's the opulence of supreme. Actually, it's a gift from the Lord. But when people are not Krishna conscious, and which automatically means they don't conduct properly, that becomes dangerous. Why? Because they become attractive. Because of their knowledge, people look up to them. Because of their knowledge, they have influence on people, on government. Just like nowadays, scientists, they are kind of, you can say, some kind of Kali sages, because they are thinking all the time. But basically, their thinking is only in terms of how to conquer, how to manipulate, and how to exploit material nature, and how to exploit products of material nature, which means people, living entities. And they don't, most of them nowadays, they don't accept existence of the soul. So it's very dangerous. They can very elaborately explain why religion, proper behavior, morality is not important. We can just live like a beast and go practically for that we have to go to hell. And they are misleading others also. That's from Shipansha. Those who are on the path of so-called knowledge, they're basically their destiny is even worse than those who are just in ignorance, because they are misleading others. Just like this famous book, The Origin of Species. Before that book was published, which was written by Darwin, he's also kind of thinker, scientist, yeah, to some extent, but he presented the whole theory in such a way that he explained reality and history of the world and human race, totally avoiding God, presenting life and creation in a totally mechanistic way. It's just chemistry, physics, that's how biology functions. Biology can be explained by physics and chemistry and everything developed on its own without creating structures. There's no control. Kimam yat kamat haitakum. Jagadahuranishwara. This they say Jagat, universe, and Ishwaram. It has no control. They are only forces and chemicals, or lack of the same, but according to their perception. And there's no controller. Any news from the database?
16:8.
Yes.
They say this world is unreal with no foundation, no God
Yes.
in control. They say it's produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust.
Read Sanskrit.
Asatyam apatishtamte jagat ahur anishparam aparashpara sambhutam.
Aparaspara. It's not aparaspara. It's aparaspara because they are not the critics up and below S. So can you give us the list of bad qualities of demoniac persons from that verse, one after another? How is Krishna describing that? Bhagavtam.
Bad qualities?
Yeah.
That's the verse when you were just reading.
16:8.
Yeah.
They say
It's not in the purport.
it's not in the purple.
It's exactly what you just read.
Oh, they say the world is unreal. They say there's no God. It's produced by sex desire and there's lust. No other cause other than lust. Right? They get off of?
There's more. Next verse.
Oh, the next verse. Okay. Sorry.
Maybe. Taking other ways to be done, it's not to be done.
Yeah,
No.
there's so many others. Okay, but we'll focus. We'll just stay here. Yeah. So these modern sages, they just mislead people. Right? And we can see that it has great cost. Human life is much. People have a lot of commodities today, but they are not happy. They are very much disturbed. Very much disturbed. That's why, how can people without good qualities benefit? So one easy method is to associate, instead of with materialistic people, materialistic views, we associate with divine qualities, divine people, divine sages, and Shukadeva Goswami is one of them. So what we are doing here at this moment is very important. Despite having millions of reasons to do something else, be somewhere else, to jog around the block and ride the bicycles, whatever people do in the mornings. Yeah. This is taking shelter of the morning mode of goodness, discuss metaphysical transcendental topics under the guidance of expert sages like our acharyas and Shukadeva Goswami. So Shukadeva Goswami was very knowledgeable transcendental sage. Transcendental sage doesn't mean they don't know anything about this world. That's how materialistic people like to see religious people. They know their own, theologies and stuff, but they don't really know how to live life and being on them. But their consciousness or understanding of materialistic people is very much covered by the mode of ignorance, by the mode of passion. So they think, these people just spend the whole morning chanting Hare Krishna and Rama, and now they have sermon every day, and it's not a wedding, it's not a funeral. So what's the use of just having sermons every day? Come on, you could just live life, watch movies, have fun, sleep a little bit later. But actually, we don't want to associate with that kind of ideas, and we don't want to associate with that kind of people. because they don't know what should be done, what should not be done. You want to associate with learned sages like Shukadeva Goswami. And in this verse, another feature, except that Shukadeva Goswami was self-realized soul, very learned, but he was also poetic. Sometimes it is said that poets with great ease talk about with great easily, very easily, just in a few lines, they describe points about which great philosophers write volumes of books. So, in other words, in poetry, you can put a lot in just one stanza because it's kind of condensed. And also poetry, when we say poetry, it usually association is about invoking some kind of specific feeling, emotions. Am I right? Poetry and emotions, songs and emotions. They go well together because poetry stimulates. That's why we like to try to memorize verses because it's about one verse. If you really want to unpack it, just like when you see here, Srimad Bhagavatam, one shloka, 2 lines, and then you have Prabhupada's purport. Sometimes 1 page, sometimes 2 pages, sometimes 10 pages, sometimes 15 pages. That's the power of poetry. Both is there. For understanding, you really have to unpack. You have to discuss, elaborate. What's the word? Corroborate with other sources, other references. You have to fluff up. Krishna Goswami mentions about fluffing up, just like a person when you get raw cotton, it's rough, but then you have to probably in factories, it's done in factories. It's kind of fluffed up, and then you make nice thread, nice clothes. Yeah. So in the same way, in Vedas we also there are statements like the whole creation and everything comes just from syllable Om. I gave a presentation about it a couple of months ago. So Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita explains everything comes from Om. That's quite condensed. Om. Just Om. So okay, so what is that Om? And then you have whole Vedic literature explanation, Lotus Om, Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavtam, everything else, of course, holy name of Krishna. Everything ultimately comes from Krishna. So knowledge about it sometimes is summarized for better understanding. Probably in poetry, you get it condensed, but then you have prose, commentaries, discussions, tikas, Sanskrit commentary, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, for better understanding. Unfortunately, I'm not expert in Sanskrit, so I cannot give any evidence how Srimad Bhagavatam is superior in poetic expression to other Puranas. I heard that from great sages recently. I think Bhagavtam was What's his name? I'm not precious if he was talking about. Because there are many Puranas, and they are all wonderful. They are not mythology. They are basically describing actual history of planet Earth as well as the universe. But Srimad Bhagavatam, among all Puranas, Srimad Bhagavatam is very special. Not only because of its spiritual focus and conclusions, but also poetic. That's how I've heard poetic Sanskrit poetry in Srimad Bhagavatam is like totally different level. It's very structured, very pure, very beautiful. So I don't have any accent, but I'm not a Sanskrit expert and you come from India. Maybe you can give us one example of beautiful poetry in Sanskrit. Like it for us, and verse.
I have heard from Radhika Raman Prabhu that Srimad Bhagavatam has all different meters that we can sing. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is only spoken in 2 meters, Anushtup and
Krishna.
but Bhagavatam has so many different meters. Bhagavatam also has prose, the fifth canto.
Yeah,
Just
describing the universe.
yeah.
Also the forest excursion of the conditions.
So, there is a science to understand what meter by counting the number of syllables in every verse.
See, yeah.
I was just thinking about Radhika Raman Prabhu. We gave a class in ISV on how to study Sanskrit. So he spoke about Srimad Bhagavatam has so many different meters, and we can count the number of syllables in every text. And based on the number of syllables, we can know which meter, which tone we can sing that particular verse. So it's a science. There's a symmetry in it.
Can you give us an example?
Example, we have simple verses which are in Anushtup, just like we did today.
Yeah.
They are 8 syllables. They are shorter.
Okay.
And then we have Trishtup. We also have Srimad Bhagavatam verses such as Satam Prasangam Mama Veera Samvida Bhavanti Vittarnasaya. They are longer. And then we have verses like 1.1. Anvayadita Charteshu Vignaspara Tene Brahmaritaya Adikavare Muhyanti Surya.
How do you sing that? I mean, that's quite prose way to say it.
Well, there's
There is some meter.
Let's say,
Yeah.
let's say most.
Dravida Prabhu is also poet.
Yes.
Amongst all the devotees, he's amazing. I mean, he understands Sanskrit, but he also can just he can produce poetry just by reading Sanskrit. So it rhymes, it's humorous, it's totally exact, and it's really amazing. Yeah. I know that some people in the audience, they want us to give some more evidence of devotional poetry, but
Also the Gopal Gita.
in Sanskrit. Well, we need to, but the whole Bhagavatam, everything is poetry, practically. Everything is in verses. It's like a poem, but it's so deep and nice. So this is also nice by basically becoming Krishna conscious. A devotee naturally develops divine qualities. Advancing in Krishna consciousness means being established in the mode of goodness, at least. So to speak of being established in pure goodness, Dasa. So that's where consciousness blossoms. So when our consciousness blossoms, then we want to express that. And it can be in different ways. It's not that all devotees are poetic. Most probably they are poetic in terms of that they appreciate songs about Krishna, Krishna's teachings, they like to chant, they like to hear about Krishna. But it's not that the devotee is not like writing poetry or that his devotion doesn't count or anything like that. So this verse, there are 26 qualities of a devotee quoted from Chaitanya Charitamrita. But the main quality is that he is what? Surrendered to Krishna. That's the primary quality. Otherwise, if you're not surrendered to Krishna, you are not a devotee. So if you're not a devotee and you are humble, if you're not God conscious, you are humble or you are a great poet, what's the use of it? I mean, the whole rock and roll scene, they also have poetry. Some of it makes sense. A lot of it doesn't make sense, and still it's sold in big numbers. So what's the use? So the primary quality of a devotee is being surrendered to Krishna, Krishna Kashaya. And all other qualities are secondary. Does it mean that if something is secondary, that it's not important at all? Actually, it's very important. Otherwise, it would say only this quality is important, being surrendered to Krishna, and all other qualities should be discarded. They are nonsense. They are material. No, it is said that they are secondary, just like we all know there are primary rasas. How many primary rasas are there? Five. What are the five primary rasas?
Servitude, fraternity, parenthood, conjugal, and then one second. In Brahma Jyoti, but in different or neutral.
Neutral. Actually, Brahmajot, neutrality is beyond Brahmajot. I don't know if you know Newton. Yeah, it's beyond. Because it's because there is great appreciation for Krishna. While in Brahmajyoti, souls that end up in Brahmajyoti, their consciousness is kind of stunted. It's kind of, there's no neutrality means, let's say in Vrindavan, Brajavasis, residents of Vrindavan, that are in Shantavasa. What are they? Birds,
Flowers, plants,
bags,
beavers.
exactly. So there's a whole bunch of them. So, of course, apparently there's not so much active service there, but can you imagine Krishna just walking through the empty sheet of paper or the sky and performing his pastimes? How would that look like? So all these persons, so neutrality is beyond impersonal liberation. It's the first step after impersonal realization. So, yeah, what I wanted to say, yeah, these are 5 prime, but then there are how many secondary are there?
7.
7. It's more. So, and they are described as secondary. Like, what is that? Anger,
Ghastliness,
ghastliness,
Order.
humor,
humor,
devotee.
different. Yeah. So all these are secondary. But what these secondary do, they, by their influence, they increase the ecstasy of devotees in these primary 5 rasas. For example, when there's some danger, Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, probably many others, they go into ecstasy of being anxious. Oh, what's going to happen to Krishna? And we have so many instances. So they are afraid, but that fear simply increases their ecstatic affection, attraction, protection of Krishna. Laughing, sometimes I notice among devotees, if you want to have a good laugh, then you get some jokes from the Karma world. It's kind of funny. Yeah, it's smart. It's absurd, but it also makes sense. So that makes you laugh. So, but devotees who are transcendentally attached to Krishna, they are laughing. They're laughing as part of Krishna's interaction with them or with other devotees. So their laughing is on a totally different level. And that laughing also increases the ecstasy of devotees in any of these. So it's a great science. That's why this secondary, what I want to say, when it says it's secondary, it doesn't mean it's unimportant. Because if devotee is already surrendered to Krishna, very Krishna conscious, and if he's, let's say, poetic, he will be able to convey his emotions, his ecstasies, his happiness, his Krishna consciousness to others. And everyone who hears that will also become attracted. Or if the devotee shows is adorned with humility, it also becomes very attractive. People can appreciate it. But all these, they may be there and they may not be there. They may not be there. For example, Bhima, He was not famous as a humble devotee. Rather, he was quite, you know, even cynical, and it's also described in Mahabharata that when after the Kurukshetra war, King Yudhishthir was so humble, so generous, so magnanimous that he practically, King Yudhishthir was the official king. He is a pure devotee, but he manifested different qualities. He treated Dhritarashtra as he is still the emperor. So much so that even Dhritarashtra felt, oh, it's not so bad. They're treated, people come to Yudhishthira for things, for decisions or instructions. And Yudhishthira said, yeah, let's go to Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra Maharaj is here. So just forward people to him. That's beautiful way to come, respecting seniors. But Bhima, when he would be around Dhritarashtra, he would loudly boast how with these hands I crushed all 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, like passing by his room, or if he would see him in the park or something, then he would just, sing about disastrous defeat of his sons and their death. That would break Dhritarashtra's heart. So we can see these are totally opposite characters. Yudhishthir and Bhima. And most probably, if Yudhishthir would find out about that, he would just chastise him and stop him. But Bhima was very sneaky and he wanted to be paid to Dhritarashtra, but still he was a pure devotee. So it's kind of a different character. Yeah. Okay, we can stop here. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't confuse everyone with all these disorganized informations. Are there any questions? So that part.
Question.
Yes, please.
So you are talking about Sanskrit language. So I think in Satya Yoga, Treta Yoga, people I think maybe used to speak in Sanskrit only. There is no other language. But in Kali Yuga, the language has been split. Very few people can either talk or understand Sanskrit. They've been disintegrated with a lot of languages. Even those languages are getting really in a bad state right now. Nobody can speak straight, even English. So is it all bad? Like, should we take this as Maya kind of taking us to the lower consciousness, even by not understanding Sanskrit or something like that? I'm just thinking about we lost the whole. You can't read Bhagavatam in Sanskrit and understand it.
Yeah.
I can't read it. So
Thank you. That's a very good question. I've been thinking about it recently. Recently I read the book. I recommend to everyone. It's really a good book. It's kind of apologetic presentation of Krishna consciousness to, maybe learned circles, but also, I mean, they are all influenced by universities. It's Searching for Vedic India by Bhagavtam Swami. Searching for Vedic India. That's the title. Yeah, this. And he said within a certain discussion. He quoted Voltaire. Anyone heard about Voltaire? Famous philosopher in France. I believe that's 17th or 18th century. He said that in those, I don't know if you know, in those days in Catholic Church, all masses, all services in the church were in Latin language. And most people couldn't, even my father, he remembers that during the Second World War, he was a king. He told me that, just go to a mass and everything is Latin. It's just, you have no idea what's going on. Maybe you know a few phrases because somebody told you, but you don't know what to make out of it. Now, going back to Voltaire. So Voltaire said that because he was quite challenging to what happened to Christianity in those, especially, also say nowadays, but especially in those days, 17th, 18th century. So he said that popes are not happy that people are reading the Bible. And that's why services, Bibles, they would be, things would go off in Latin. So to understand it, you have to learn Latin, and to learn Latin, you have to go to university, or you have to become a priest, something like that. So Voltaire said, people are not allowed to read the Bible, and I think these popes are smart. That's exactly how it should be. Because he was a great critic of duplicity, fanaticism, ignorance that was going on the side of church or on the side of all part of believers. And we can see nowadays in different religious circles, you have so much fanaticism and, just like in Bible, if I believe Christian world is most famous, one of the most famous religions in the world that thinks it's only us and only my denomination is going to go back to God, and everyone else is going to be annihilated. Everyone else is a servitor of Satan and is going to go to hell. I believe all of us are exposed to these ideas. So reading Bible by people who are a little bit limited by modern ignorance can produce fanaticism, sometimes even religious violence, and we can see that going on around in the world. So, not knowing Sanskrit in Kali Yuga, I think it's better that secrets stay secret, and it's better that people learn proper conduct, proper teachings, proper conclusions from a devotee. Even in our movement, some people who thought that they had figured out Sanskrit properly, they left the movement and went into big mine on account of their academic study. That's why in Vedic tradition, you don't steal knowledge from books. You deserve knowledge by humbly serving a guru who is supposed to be Vaishnava. Shatkarma Vipro, Mantra Tantra Visharada, Avaishnava Guru Nasyat, Svapacho to Guru, something like that. So, if a guru or teacher is not a Vaishnava, he is discredited. He should be rejected. Because it's not just knowledge or ability to understand. That's what our universities, they don't care about development of character, proper respect, proper, conduct privately. But in ashramas of sages and devotees, that's a big thing. So that's the problem. Because secularizing secular knowledge, which would be academic knowledge, and even Sanskrit, which is kind of upadeda, it's kind of secondary. It's also important, but should be in the service of the primary purpose. And that's devotion to God. That's surrender to Krishna, surrender to God. And then once surrendered to God, approaching to the bona fide spiritual master. But that's the most important, Krishna Kasharana. But then once you can accommodate that idea, what's the next one which is important? According to 13th chapter of Bhagavtam. After you agree that you should surrender to Krishna, what's the next quality which is important? Prabhupada in the purport he explains. It is the taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And then after you take shelter of bona fide spiritual master, if you don't develop humility, if you don't develop self-control, you can commit offenses. You won't be able to advance. So all these things are become important. But priority is to understand the ultimate goal is to take shelter. Thank you very much. We'll stop here. So, Hare Krishna. Santara Srimad Bhagavatam.